Welcome. I am Steve August from Revelation in the U.S.
And this is Ian Rao from GFK in the United Kingdom.
And we're very happy to be participating in this ongoing live aid of market research conference. So happy to be here. We're going to be speaking today about mobilizing online qualitative research via smartphones, embracing the third screen.
Okay, so in particular, what Steve and I want to take you through today is a case study of a project that GFK and Revelation have done in partnership to really test the possibility and viability of using the smartphone within online qualitative research. But before we take you through the case study itself, I think it's worth taking some time to consider the smartphone as a research tool. And what are the opportunities and what are the pitfalls that we need to consider? Just wanted to start with a quote from an actual respondent, which I often use to show why we're in this area. And it really illustrates, I think, that for a certain proportion of consumers, the phone is becoming more than just that. It's not just a way to communicate. It's a way to understand, to entertain, to plan, to pay, to shop. It really has become a vital tool, or perhaps for some the vital tool in enabling us in our lives. And with that said, GFK and Revelation have been working together with online qualitative research for some time. And myself and Steve put our heads together at the beginning of 2010 to really think about how we might take this experience mobile. And with any new research approach, there's sort of considerations we need to stop and think about first of all. Starting with what is it from the respondent's point of view? Are we going to adopt this for the good of the respondent and ultimately the good of the research, which means better insights for our clients? Does taking this research mobile give a better, easier, or more engaging experience for the consumer? And that's really at the heart of what we were looking to achieve here. Secondly, we need to think about the technology itself. The development in smartphones has been incredible, both in terms of adoption and what they can deliver. But we still need to stop and think about what they can do and what they can't do and build that into our approaches. Thirdly, it's really thinking about the lowest common denominator and taking an approach that allows the maximum number of people to participate. Obviously, within research, representative samples are usually very important. In the example we're going to go through today, we're particularly looking at smartphone users, so it's less of an issue, but I still think an important consideration. And finally, in terms of international research, this is a very international seminar that we're all involved in today. We need to think about each of the countries, each of the markets, and each of the cultures we're engaging in and making sure our approach is relevant.
So as a provider of an online research platform, Revelation has been always thinking acutely about how do we take advantage of the technology, the opportunities that technology affords us to serve the ultimate mission of market research, which in a nutshell is essentially to understand people, to answer business questions. And in our work with technology and research, we started with the online platform and the web-based platform, in using that and seeing that as a tool that could get us into people's lives in a way and with a reach that we didn't have before. And so as we thought more about that mission and we saw the next wave of technology coming through, mainly the mobile technology and smartphone, app-based smartphones especially, there seemed to be just a natural extension of what the work was here. So we wanted to see if we could move and utilize the mobile technology to actually get even closer to people's experiences. And we also wanted to understand, not just from a technology point of view, but from a method point of view, what were going to be the best ways to make that happen. What was it going to be good at? What was it going to be challenged at? And so together with Ian here at GFK, we constructed a pilot project to really start digging into these issues and really understanding it both from a methodology and a technology perspective.
So to first briefly outline what we did, we constructed a online qualitative study where we recruited 40 smartphone users across the UK and the US. And we also split this across two platforms, iPhone and Android-based devices. With some initial internal testing earlier this year, we decided not to test within Windows Mobile or BlackBerry OS because there were some issues there around how the system was delivered by the mobile browser. As evidence of the speed of development in this area, updates from both of those brands now mean that they are feasible for browser-based online research. At this point, we focused our efforts on these two operating systems. The study itself was all about my mobile and me. We really wanted to understand how did the smartphone fit into people's lives? What did it mean to them? What did it enable them to do? And what did it really deliver for them? And to do this, we used a variety of techniques, partly to get the range of insights we required, but also to test this approach as rigorously as we could. And you can see from this list here on the slide, we had a range of simple to complex tasks. We had a single response versus multiple response, so we've got some online diaries on there. And we also had private or solitary exercises versus some more interactive group discussions. All of these were delivered via the Revelation platform. Some of them, the respondents were asked and required to respond via their PC, whether that be at home or work or wherever they access the internet on their computer. And some to be done through the mobile phone, accessing Revelation via their mobile phone browser. And in some instances, we even gave respondents the choice to use whichever was their favored or more convenient. And added to this, we also introduced the Revelation iPhone app midway through the exercise and asked our Apple iPhone users to do some app-specific tasks to test the impact of doing an app-based delivery versus mobile browser. So what did we learn? Well, we really wanted to look at this we really wanted to look at this approach with three key considerations in mind. Firstly, did it deliver information, data, insight that was at least as good as we would get through a PC, normal internet-based online qualitative study? And in fact, did it offer something extra? Did it add something to the experience, to the insight, to the research? Secondly, as I mentioned earlier, what about the respondent's point of view? Did delivering this kind of research via the mobile phone make the process easier, better, or perhaps even more fun in a way that engages them? And finally, from the device itself, what are the strengths and weaknesses of the mobile phone that we need to bear in mind when constructing research in this way? So looking at the quality of data, actually we found that the length of response that we got from our consumers was almost as long, certainly as good as we got from the PC. Yes, the limits of the keypad or virtual touchscreen keypad and the size of the screen does provide some limitations. We did get some text speak, some abbreviations, some acronyms, some slang, and certainly lots of typos. But actually the quality of the information that people provided via the cell phone versus the PC was just as good. And in fact, perhaps even better in some ways. For certain tasks where we had repetitive entries, for example, the diary exercise, we were getting far more frequent responses from our respondents via the cell phone than we did via the PC. To illustrate this point, we see this, what may seem like a very simple example here. One of our respondents, they woke up, albeit quite late in the day, at lunchtime, with their mobile phone ringing an alarm to actually wake them up. And then we see at 2:02, our respondent got some rather bad news about the home country, which was Poland in this instance. This study was done back in March, where there was the awful plane crash with their political leader. And we can see over the space of half an hour, we get 5 responses all about what they're doing and how they're using their phone. They receive the news, they process that news, and they start to disseminate it around their friendship group. Not only is this a really deep insight for our topic here about my mobile and me, but I think it's really eye-opening in terms of the research perspective, that even though this was all going on, we get a number of time-critical responses that we would not have got necessarily if this activity was being done by the PC. We can see that this then continues as the respondent's day goes from bad to worse, as they have to take their partner to hospital. Yet they're still updating us, telling us that they're home and receiving emails from their partners at hospital. And then even at 11:28 there, our respondent is in bed, still using their phone, still telling us about it via the platform. And how many of us can say that we've laid in bed with a respondent and interviewed them? The other advantage is the camera that is embedded in most of our smartphones. As I mentioned earlier, I think one of the real benefits in terms of quality of data received is the moment of truth, getting the time and location specific information. When you put this together with a consumer-generated image, you really start to see through the respondent's eye their world. And in that cliche, a picture speaks 1,000 words. It really adds additional layers of insight and intrigue into the research. So what about the respondent's point of view? Well, pretty much universally, our panelists told us that they had so much fun taking part in this exercise. You know, one of the more enjoyable pieces of research they've ever participated in. And I think we have to bear in mind that our audience were people engaged with and using high-end smartphones, so we were kind of preaching to the converted. But even so, I think that shows the power of using a technique or a technology or a way of engaging with the respondent that fits with their own life. Added to the fact that the phone is always with them. These people are never apart from their phone is never switched off, which means they're able to respond on their terms, when they want, where they want, how they want. The flip side of this was we found that this meant that the device was actually less suitable for the group discussions, where we required respondents to engage for a long period or frequently with a group dynamic. If you think about a sort of more traditional online focus group, if you want somebody to sort of be online for an hour or 2 hours, constantly monitoring and responding, that starts to take away all those benefits about responding on my terms and fitting them into my life. And for those reasons, we found that certainly those sorts of exercises were far more suited to the PC-based browser. Just as an example of how engaged our respondents were, whether these responses came from the PC or the mobile, this eulogy exercise where we asked our respondents to tell us, what would you say at your phone's funeral if it were to die, show us not only how much they had got involved in the study and were giving us fascinating insights into their lives with their phones, but shows just how important their phones are to them. We see here the quotes like, she also kept me up to date with the latest news in my community, you know, personifying a mobile phone and showing how important it is as an informant, also as a guide, helping you when you're lost or lonely, and always help me get back home, that sort of SOS or emergency service that our phones can provide. So this seems to suggest how vital the smartphone is in these consumers' lives. However, when you delve a little deeper, I think what we see is it's not the device at all, and in fact the phone itself, the physical entity, is somewhat expendable, or at least replaceable. We see the quotes here like, I will be alone in the wilderness until tomorrow my new phone arrives in the post and I'm connected back up. I will download all the same apps as we used to have in loving memory of you. And my favorite, goodbye dear friend, I'll miss you horribly, but please don't take it personally because I'm going out right now to buy your replacement. This really highlights that it's not the phone, but what the phones do for us that is crucial and irreplaceable. Briefly on the device then, it seems an obvious thing to say, but our smartphones are portable. They're always on us, they're always on, as I mentioned earlier. But this means that consumers can fill dead time, and we see this, that you know, how we use our phones, making calls, sending texts, playing short puzzle games. We can fill time we might otherwise lose doing other tasks. So for certain elements of research where we don't need people to be 100% engaged or concentrating in a certain environment, why not allow that respondent to fill that dead time by participating in research? And as we've seen, the increasingly high quality camera in these phones provides that additional visual dimension. But there are some negatives. Battery life is a problem, and asking people to do these sorts of exercises throughout the day can put an additional drain on that energy source. And we did have examples of people who were out for the day and they lost battery and were unable to complete the tasks. We also had issues with people losing a data signal, which meant entries had been lost, which caused frustration. I think also in maybe markets outside of the UK and the US where uncapped data tariffs or costly data tariffs exist, and we need to think about the cost implications from respondents in participating. And finally, yes, our phones are always with us and they're portable. That means somewhat that they are prone to damage and loss. And we actually did have one of our respondents have his phone broken beyond repair during the study and actually had to pull out midway through the exercise. So sort of finally from me, I wanted to share one of our more key insights from a sort of mobile market perspective, which also ended up being one of our key learnings from a methodology perspective. And that's going back to this point of the phone being our lifelines. But our lifelines not because of what they are, but because of what they do. They allow us to communicate, to stay connected, to be entertained, to keep up to date, to be informed. All of which are about delivering services to our hands, to our pockets. And increasingly, these are being delivered to us via apps. Ways of optimizing that experience for the mobile device to make it quick, easy, intuitive, and cost-effective. So why should the way we conduct research be any different?
So it just is sensical to follow that if people's best experience on a mobile phone is through an app-based experience, whether it's a game they're playing or their Facebook app or whatever, it just follows naturally that if market research is going to go there, then the app-based experience should follow as well. So we need to deliver an app-based experience to maximize the engagement and utility for the participants and make it easy for them to do what we would like them to do. And so this definitely takes it a step beyond what was previously more of a limited mobile browser experience. And that is, I think, what is a tidal wave of market research apps will be forthcoming over the next year or so. So thinking about just wrapping up and the idea of embracing the third screen, as we call it, for mobile. Essentially, a smartphone mobile device becomes an extension, simply an extension of the PC. The things, the activities that we do are very much the same. It's just in a portable fashion, and that goes the same for research as well. And each medium, each PC and mobile have things that they're good at and things that they're challenged by. Obviously, PCs are hard to lug around, and mobile can be challenged in terms of depth of expression. So the trick is then to use both tools in a complementary way, taking advantages of their strengths to serve the research purpose. So in our study, we used the PC for signing and screening and sign up, and presenting visual stimuli, and for activities that required a lot more depth or longer responses, whereas the phone was used activities for quick, on-the-spot, repeated information, and really in the moment contextual style research. So just wrapping up with a few thoughts about smartphone qual, just some things to perhaps summarize and perhaps challenge our thinking about it before, as we all embrace this new mobile utopia. Mobile, it really is the final 5 yards into consumer experience. These moments of truth, moments of use, moments of consumption, whether it's in the checkout aisle, at the amusement park, wherever it happens to be, mobile gets us into that experience. But at the same time, mobile is not a methodology, it's a technology. It's simply a medium by which we can get into people's lives. So a survey or a projective exercise or a diary that's on is still a projective exercise or a diary, even if it's on a mobile phone. In 5 years, everyone will have it. It's really special right now. It's new but the rate of adoption on mobile is going to easily surpass what we did with web and online, mainly because it is really more of an extension of how we connect. And then finally, mobile will provide yet even more data from more locations that has to be synthesized. So the big challenge will continue to be sense making. That is, getting the understanding and the answers that drive action, that fulfills the ultimate mission of market research, which is understanding people to answer business questions. So with that, we thank you for your time and look forward to any questions.